Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Barely Bookish podcast. Today, we are continuing on with Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights. Wow, voice crack there for a second. And I am joined by Jen from In Her Good Books.
Hi.
Another round of juicy chapters for Wuthering Heights.
Every time. It just does not disappoint.
Yeah, it is. This is what reality TV is based on, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, things get a little bit weird in these ones. They maybe go a little bit far, but
Yeah. Things definitely go south, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just get into it because I feel like there's going to be a lot to say these ones.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So we are starting on chapter 6, 26. What is
I
going
was
on
like, we
with
have
me?
gone back in time.
Am I tired? I don't know. I'm just
Probably. I
falling
mean,
apart over here.
it is nighttime, so.
It is nighttime. It was one of those days where it's like it wasn't necessarily a long day, but it was like a lot of peopling for me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like my brain's just like eepy sleepy, but
I
it's
had
fine.
I had a very unsuccessful day where everything
Mm-hmm.
was bad. And I mean, in the end it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my brain is fried.
We're gonna do our best today.
Yeah, we are. We're going to do our best. We're going to do it.
We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna talk about drama. It's gonna cheer us up, and
Yep.
it's gonna be great.
Yes.
And then I'm gonna probably watch Vanderpump Rules because I like every time I read this, it makes me think of that just because it's the same level of dramaticism.
Yeah, then you need your fix after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we are on chapter 26. We did not go back in time. And we have Ellen, Linton, and Kathy. They're supposed to be meeting in the middle, but Linton sent someone and he's like, I cannot make it that far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, I mentioned this at the end of the last episode because I think I read a little bit ahead. How he's just like laying outside his front door, basically. He's like nowhere near halfway.
No. Like, I like the idea that he's basically come down the steps.
Yeah.
Like, he's got one of those big wraparound porches with the 3 steps down to the actual ground level. And he's
Yeah.
like, I've walked so far.
This is as far as I could go. I might die from it.
Honestly, what a mood. I also am not a big fan of cardio, so that sounds like me.
Yes.
So, yeah, they meet him on his front porch, and he looks like half dead. He's like barely alive.
Yeah,
He's like draped on the ground.
we're making fun of him, but he actually is sickly.
Yeah. It's hard to tell in this book,
It
you know?
is. It is.
There's just so much gaslighting that you're like, oh, maybe they're not, and then they like die the next chapter, and you're like, oh,
You're serious. Shoot.
whoopsies. Maybe don't be the girl the person who cried wolf, okay?
Yes. This is the lesson, the moral of the story.
Mm-hmm. So it's very obvious that Heathcliff does not. Sorry, I put Heathcliff. I meant Linton. It's very obvious that Linton does not want to be around anyone. But when they're like, "Hey, we'll leave," he's like, "No, don't do that." And they're like, "Are you sure?" Or
he doesn't want to be around anyone, but he also doesn't want to be alone with Heathcliff.
yeah, which fair, respectable, solid choice. So he's like, please just like stay at least 30 minutes. And they're like, I guess if we have to, sure.
I think he's like not really talking, or
yeah,
he's just how I feel after I've peopled too much and I just retreat into myself.
See, I love those friends that when you have like a really long day, you both just kind of sit there in silence, zoning out.
Yeah.
Not talking to each other at all. And then you're like, this is great. Next time, same time next week? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Go to Shanna's house. I'm like, well, I'm just going to be over here.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be over there.
Yep.
See you in a couple hours.
That's like my favorite thing about like long-term friendships. You can have like those kinds of people.
Yeah. You don't have to entertain them the whole time.
Yeah. The thing I like is when you don't have to clean the house because they're coming over.
Oh my god,
You
yes.
know?
Yep. Those are the only
Like,
friends that I have time for.
I know. I'm like, if I have to clean before you see my home, like, we can't hang out. Like,
No.
I can't do it. I don't
We'll
have
be
time.
we'll be meeting 3 steps outside my door, and that is as far as we'll
Correct.
go.
We'll meet in the middle. By that, I mean on my front lawn.
Yeah.
So Linton's like, hey, can you lie to my dad and say that I was in great spirits and I don't want to get punished? And like, can we meet this time next week? And Kathy's like, no.
Yeah, no. No.
And then she's like, I don't want to hang out if I feel like a burden to you. So, and then he like falls asleep while they're hanging out.
It's not awkward.
Like, I'm imagining basically equating Linton to someone who has a flu. Like, could you imagine being like, I'm kind of upset that you're sickly right
Yeah,
now?
right.
Like, he was throwing up in a bucket before he walked out the door. And then she's like, you couldn't meet me halfway.
Yeah, like, can you not entertain me? Can you not say
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah. Can you not sing for me? Like, so after Linton slept for like a solid 30, he wakes up in a sheer panic. Like if you've ever woken your mom up in the middle of the night, like that
Oh
kind
my
of
god,
level of
yes.
wake up, you know? Which now that you're a mom, have you experienced that suddenly you do that now?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
just like you become a parent and like after the baby's born, suddenly all of your wake ups are in a panic.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Yep,
wondered.
basically. Any sound happens and I'm like, I'm awake. I'm here.
Yeah.
My oldest though, she liked to sleepwalk. So she'd always be really
Oh.
quiet, but I'd wake up and she'd just be standing beside the bed,
Oh.
staring.
God.
Just like standing in the corner of our room. That's when you wake up in a panic. For
Oh.
real.
I just sometimes I feel like kids just they're just so creepy sometimes, you know?
Yes. Almost all the time.
You're like, why? Like, and then they grow out of it, and you're like, okay, this is fine now. But like a couple years ago, you were a little weird.
Mhm. For real.
I have like a distinct memory of going up to my mother because I had a nightmare, and I told her it was not a nightmare that I saw faces coming out of my wall. What could she have thought? You know?
She probably at that point had heard it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an episode of the Spirits podcast where they were talking about like creepy kids, and now it's just a running joke.
Oh my god. The
Yeah.
same sleepwalking daughter told
Mhm.
me when she was probably about 3 or 4 that her other mom died in a car accident. And I
Oh,
was like, "Mm, okay.
okay.
When was that?" uh,
Oh god, you're like, oh, okay.
some weird past life stuff happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever seen that like research they did, or was it a movie? I can't remember if it's real or fake. But there was like a kid that I feel like it was real. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look this up later and edit it out if it's actually a fake
Mhm.
movie. But they like had this kid recall, like it was a baby recalling its past life.
Weird.
Was it a movie?
I don't know. I
Hold
haven't
on.
heard
Let's
it.
quick Google before I
Baby recalls
yeah.
past life.
Yeah, just before I fill you in with like fake news, okay? Baby recalls past life. Oh, it's like a Ghost Hunters episode.
Weird.
Okay. It's probably not real. I just remembered about it. Where it's like this kid was able to like identify his past life and how he died and all that kind of stuff. I was like, whoa.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. So, uh, yeah, Linton wakes up in a panic thinking that he heard Heathcliff, and they're like yeah, Heathcliff's not around here. And he's like, but he's gonna punish me. And then Kathy and Ellen are like, all right, bye, and run away. Which, like, worse people in, like, trying to help it. They're, like, not trying to help this child in an abusive home at all,
No,
honestly.
no. Like, yeah, it's not really our business, so I think we're just gonna go.
Like, Ellen multiple times is basically like, get fucked. Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah. But that's kinda how she is. She's
Yeah.
she's not the best.
No, she's not. Nobody in here is
No.
the best,
No, there's
honestly.
literally no, not even one single person. I mean,
Like, there's.
maybe Edgar is okay. He's not bad, but he's also pretty dull, so I don't know.
But he also, like, kind of held his daughter captive
Yeah.
and, like, sheltered her from the world. And now she is recreating the life that, like, Heathcliff designed because she didn't know any better of the world. So,
Yeah. Yeah, he did it wrong
I
for
don't know.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Point A of, sheltering children makes sneaky children.
Mhm.
So they decide they're still going to go next week and see if Linton's better then. And I'm like, sure,
Like,
cool.
why?
And yeah,
What?
like, you know, like, it just feels like those kinds of friendships that you, like, grow apart and you're like, do I keep trying to make this work? Do I keep going over there? I don't know.
Especially when you're the only one putting effort in. Linton
Yeah.
is like just sleeping.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah. So, chapter 27, Edgar is continuously getting worse, and Kathy is lurking in his room at all times, which, fair enough.
Mhm.
Edgar assumes that Linton is a lot like him, and he's like, I'm going to be leaving Kathy in good hands. And Ellen says nothing. Which,
Like,
like,
hello.
I'm
Oh my
like,
god.
girl. Like, this is the very moment where Ellen could have saved Catherine
Yeah,
and didn't. Because
never.
he could have put all of her stuff in a trust now, imagining that something bad's going to happen to Catherine. And Ellen's like, oh, crazy.
Yeah, well. Um, which I think is kind of funny because she's telling this story. She's not painting herself in a very good light.
No.
Like, you kind of wonder how reliable she is as a narrator, but if she was making stuff up, wouldn't she make herself seem a little bit better?
I feel like she's not a very reliable narrator, mostly for the Catherine Sr. moment,
Mhm.
you know? Like, I don't. There's so much of this that I'm like, this is pretty convoluted, you know?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I just don't know about her.
Yeah. So they go and meet up with Linton again. Kathy's confused because she's like, yeah, Linton doesn't want me here at all. I don't know what to do about that. And she's like, should I go? And Linton's like, if you leave, I'll be killed. And I feel like Kathy partially is kind of like, is that my problem?
Yeah,
you know?
right. I mean, that whole family is just, I mean, like the Heathcliffs.
Yeah.
I feel like you just want to stay away, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't really blame her. But yeah, someone really should have gotten that kid out of there.
Yeah. Literally. I'm like, we should not be making these trips. They should have just left Linton alone. Or, I mean, they should have kidnapped Linton and brought him back. But if they can't do that, Kathy should not be involved in this situation. Like, you're basically trying to make a child raise another child. This is a bad idea.
Yes, yeah.
So, after seeing everyone outside, Heathcliff ends up running out and um he goes up to Ellen and he's like, so how long do you think Edgar's gonna be alive? You think he's gonna die soon or what? And then Ellen immediately snitches on Linton. And it's like, oh yeah, your kid's being kind of a piece of shit. Also, Edgar on the verge of death any second now. And I'm like, Ellen, shut up.
Yeah,
What?
why are you telling him anything?
No. I'm like, you're gonna tell your like employer's arch nemesis all about the fact that he's like on the brink of death. Like this, what are you doing? Terrible
Yeah,
idea.
when his whole plan involves Edgar being dead. Like,
Literally.
just withhold the information from him.
I know. I'm like, shut up, Ellen. Honestly, stop talking. So we find Linton is absolutely terrified of Heathcliff, and Ellen and Catherine making it drastically worse, talking mad trash about Linton to Heathcliff. I'm like, why are you like you're getting this kid? He's gonna be beat now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so good job,
thanks.
guys.
Yeah, nice job, nice try. Um, Heathcliff forces everybody inside by being like, "Oh, Catherine, why don't you take your cousin inside?" And Catherine's like, "Oh, I can't go inside." And he's like, "I just walk him inside really quick." Shuts and locks the door, sealing everyone inside. And he's like, "We're gonna have tea before you're allowed to go home." And they're like, "No,
No.
no, let us go." And he's like, "No."
Like, it's fine, right? No.
Fully
You
kidnaps
can't
them.
you can't kidnap people, Heathcliff. What the heck?
Like, and Heathcliff has like he's so outside of the law for some reason.
Yeah, he just literally does whatever he wants.
Yeah, that man has never had a consequence once.
No.
It's so funny that like this book for me is so different than like most classics I've read, you know? Like I feel like every classic seems to have like a bit of like a flowery like outside of modern day things that people do. Like this is the first time in a classic someone's actually been kidnapped thus far,
Yeah.
you know. Well, besides Jane Eyre cuz basically he kidnapped his first wife kind of and like locked her in an attic. So like, you know, it's
Yes.
just like a Bronte sisters moment is
Yeah.
kidnapping is what I'm
Well,
getting.
I think they're just a bit dark. They're a bit darker than you would expect. And
Yeah.
I remember kind of reading about this book and how when it came out, it was written under Ellis Bell, I think
Mhm.
is Emily's pseudonym. And everyone was like, "Oh yes, what a wonderful book!" And then it came out that she was a woman, and they're like, "What? This couldn't have been written by a woman? It's like it's too, I don't know.
It's not a romance
It's not
novel.
a romance. It's too dark. It's too like it's scandalous." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yes, yeah, it's true.
Women have dark sides.
Yes,
Shocking,
yeah,
truly. Speaking of which, I am currently reading Butcher and Blackbird.
good,
Pretty good. Pretty
yeah."
good. Yeah, but it's serial killers falling in love. So
Hmm.
serial killers that kill other serial killers. So
Okay, well, that's all right.
yeah,
I'm okay with that. They
it's
deserve
pretty
love.
good. Honestly, I not gonna lie to you. This was like cover. Look at the cover.
Nice.
I saw that and I was like, yeah, well, and then I found out what it was about later.
Of course. As we
Like I
do.
was, yeah. Someone's like I saw the cover first, and then someone started talking about it, and I was already sold on the cover. I was like, say less,
Yeah.
say no more. I'm already it's in the cart, you know.
Yeah. Yes.
So, um, Catherine says she's not afraid of Heathcliff, and she will not eat or drink anything. She'd rather starve. An icon. Um, and then she tries to make a grab for the key. Heathcliff's like, if you try and take this, I will just like shove you to the ground. Like,
Yeah, he is not above violence.
yeah, he's like, I've already kidnapped you.
What you gonna do about it?
Literally. So she ends up grabbing the key, and he basically just like takes his hands on either side of her face and just slaps them back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Like, what?
oh.
That's a weird way to do it.
Yeah.
But
Which I like, this is the first time I really realized what someone said I would box your ears, man. I didn't like,
yeah,
I was like, oh, this makes sense.
that's yeah,
Never really thought about it until this moment, and it was
yeah,
described in this way.
makes sense for sure. Yeah.
Hmm. So then Heathcliff says he's going to be Catherine's father, and he'll do as much as he pleases to see that the temper never comes to her eyes again. I was like, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Just wants to control people
Literally.
completely and
Hmm.
break them so they have no emotions at all.
Hmm. So fully locked in the house, and Heathcliff's like, I'm gonna go get your horses. And they're like, okay. So they leave them alone with Linton, and both of them immediately, as soon as Heathcliff walks out of the room, eyes straight at Linton, and they're like, "You better start telling us what's going on." Like, literally, what the fuck, dude? And he's like, "No," and I'm like, "Why? Why?
Why
Why are
is
you being an
everybody like
ass?"
this?
Like, I'm like, Linton, please, please, just get it together. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
We're all in this situation. What's going on? So, Linton's like, okay, Heathcliff's kidnapping you so that me and Kathy can get married, and then I'll be able to go home with Catherine to the Grange. And I was like,
That doesn't sound exactly like what the plan will be.
yeah. I'm like,
Again,
I don't know about that one, actually.
Heathcliff is not giving them up.
Yeah, literally. And then, um, Kathy's like, I am not going to do that. And Linton's like, so you don't want to save me? I'm like, bro, what? What?
No.
No. So Kathy says that her dad's gonna be miserable with worry, and Heathcliff comes back in the room, sorry. And Kathy's like, my dad's gonna be so worried and he's gonna be so miserable. And Heathcliff's like, good.
Good. I hope he dies.
Yeah. As he should, you know. And he's like, did you forget that we're like arch nemesises or
Yeah, no sympathy. No, none.
no, none. So uh then Heathcliff implies that Linton is just as abusive as he is, and I'm like, oh god. Oh no.
Mm.
Great. So then he sends Linton up to his room, and he forces Catherine and Ellen to hang out for a while. And I'm like, why? Honestly. So Heathcliff already sent Linton up to his room pretty much immediately, and then forces Ellen and Catherine to hang out. And they're like, why?
We don't
What's
want to hang out
happening?
with you. We are kidnapped. Let us go.
Yeah. And he's like, I just want to hang out with you guys. And they're like, no. What?
No.
So then at 9 p.m., he's like, all right, you guys are kind of annoying me. Go to bed.
They're like, actually, how about you just let us go?
Yeah. So the next morning, like early in the morning, Heathcliff's like, comes to the door and he's like, is Kathy awake? And Kathy's like, yep. And he pulls Catherine out and shuts the door so Ellen's still in the room. And I'm like, oh God.
Ugh.
So then he leaves Ellen alone in that room for 5 nights and 4 days.
Yeah. Like,
I'm like,
what?
what? And then you're
Why?
on. I don't know. I just,
Like,
like,
really?
what's the reason?
For that long?
I know. I'm like, is it so she doesn't contest the marriage or something? Like, I don't get it.
I don't know. But, like, I'm sure they probably got married right away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
I don't
guess
get it.
there's not really that much sense to most of the things that anybody does. So,
Facts. Then we're on to chapter 28. So then another servant comes in and she's like, "Oh, hey, everybody thought you sunk in the marsh." And
But you're
Alan's like,
here.
"What?
That's weird.
Yeah, crazy." She's like, "Yeah, I talked to Heathcliff. He's letting you go now." And Alan's like, okay." And she's like, "Yeah, you gotta go back to the Grange, though. He doesn't want you here."
Well, good.
Yeah. She's like, "I was gonna go
Thanks.
back anyways." Um, so Edgar's this time for real about to die. Um, Kathy's not been allowed to go home at all. No shocker there, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out that Linton is super spoiled, which we kind of already knew, but it's definitely worse now.
Yeah.
And he's relishing in Catherine's misery. And he told Catherine that he owns her and everything that she owns is his. I'm like, cool.
Yeah. So, like, this whole plan was Heathcliff's,
Yeah.
but Linton was definitely also playing the
Hmm.
game.
Yeah. Because he didn't seem like, while he seemed spoiled before, it wasn't this bad.
Yeah. He was, like, annoying, but
Hmm.
now he's an actual ass.
Yeah. So Ellen makes it home, fills Edgar in on all the drama, and he decides he's going to alter his will so that everything's in a trust for Kathy, and Heathcliff can't access it. So Ellen's like, cool, I'll get all the attorneys here. Calls out for all the attorneys. They're like, we're all busy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God,
uh,
okay.
wouldn't it have been good to have done this before if you had told Edgar anything?
Literally. So Kathy ends up sneaking it out, makes it home. Um, Alan's like, tell your dad that you're happy with Linton so that he doesn't die stressed out. And I'm like,
Fair.
sure. Okay. We could have handled this a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. So Edgar dies, and then like 2 hours later, the lawyers show up. Turns out they were on Heathcliff's payroll, which like Heathcliff's fully a mafia boss at this point.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Which, how?
I don't, I don't know. Like I don't get it. Like I don't understand what changed. What's happening?
It's weird.
Yeah. And then as soon as the lawyer gets there, he starts ordering everybody around. He's like, all the servants are fired, like blah blah blah. And um we find out that like Kathy was not allowed to leave Wuthering Heights. She just fully broke out, like out of a window, climbed down like a trellis, and ran.
Yeah.
Which iconic, love that.
Yes.
But also, oh no,
Yeah, now she's in shit.
yeah.
But yeah, she didn't want to miss her dad dying. God.
Which fair enough. I'm like,
Yeah.
as she should just break out. Hope that comes in handy later because you're probably gonna have to do it again, Kathy.
Yes. Multiple times for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So then we're on to chapter 29. Um, it's the evening after the funeral, so like hours later. Um, Heathcliff shows up, walks in like he owns the place because I guess technically he does.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Catherine finds out like he sees Heathcliff walk in, and she's like, "Oh!" and tries to run out, and Heathcliff's like, "No, you will not be doing that. Nice try though."
Yep.
Uh, Then Heathcliff starts detailing the psychological torture he puts Linton through, which involves Harrington going into the room in the middle of the night and screaming. And I'm like, what?
What?
Why? Just
Why?
literally
Why?
why?
Like, this is your son, you psycho?
Yeah. Like, and he also apparently carries Linton out and then just like sets him on a chair for 2 hours and then like carries him back into his room.
It's weird.
What?
What? It's weird.
Literally. Why? Just why? So Ellen's like trying to go into like fix it mode after she like literally just let this happen. Um and she's trying to persuade Heathcliff to have Kathy and Linton live here, like in the Grange, and then Heathcliff is like, "Yeah, no. My kids are going to be near me. Also, I'm going to get a tenant for the Grange." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, like you already were making plans."
Yeah.
Crazy.
He wants to make the money and he wants to administer the torture.
Mhm. Mhm. So, Catherine says that her and Linton love each other and they'll be fine. And I'm like, "Babe, he's abusive. What are we
She's
what?"
like, you don't have to pretend anymore. Edgar's
Yeah,
dead.
no. Yeah, you're fine. Like, what are we doing? So, uh, then after, like, pulling, like, telling Catherine to go pick up all her stuff, Heathcliff looks at Ellen, which, like, he just loves to spill his guts to Ellen all the time.
Right? I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you telling her all this stuff?
Heathcliff's like, it's for the plot. But
Yes.
so Heathcliff said he looked at Catherine's decaying form, which has been like buried for literally 18 years, and he's like, "Yeah, she like looks like she died yesterday." Um and I also altered her coffin so that I could be laid to rest next to her. I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, while they're digging Edgar's grave. And like digs up her grave as well.
Mhm.
Opens the coffin. I was like, "What? What do you
Literally.
mean?" I
When
read
he
I had to reread this part over and over again because I was like,
Mhm.
"No, like that
Yeah.
not what happened." And then I was like, "No, that's what he said."
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
weird.
And he also refers to Catherine as his wife. So
Yeah.
I was like,
Also
"Sir?"
weird.
Yep. And then he talks about how he feels Catherine's ghost is haunting him. And I'm like, okay. And then like Kathy comes back in the room. He's like, "Oh, by the way, you can't take your horse because you won't be allowed to leave anyways." So
Yeah. And Heathcliff also, because he was worried or he felt like he was being haunted by Catherine,
Mhm.
but also because he dug up her grave before. Like he said
Did
he
I
did
miss
it
that part?
yeah, he did it the following
Oh
year.
yeah.
He dug it up
Mhm.
and then saw it, it's I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
He keeps
Like I
digging up
guess
her grave.
he just has like a yearly routine of like digging up her grave at this point,
Yeah.
it seems.
Yeah.
So, then he says, "Oh, hey, by the way, Ellen, you are not allowed to set foot in Wuthering Heights' presence at all." And I'm like, "Why? Like, she's your gossip queen.
Yeah,
Like,
who are
what do
you gonna
you
tell all your secrets to?
literally?" And then we're on to chapter 30. So Ellen's like, "Yeah, I haven't seen Kathy since that day." And I'm like, "How long ago was that, by the way?"
Must have been like because I think the
Like,
last time they kind of said a point in time, it was like a year.
yeah, I'm guessing like 6 to 8 months,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah,
We then find out that the servant, Zilla, is how I've been saying her name. I don't
yeah,
know if that's right.
yeah,
Okay. Does not like Kathy, which this is just a straight up callback to when Ellen didn't like Catherine Sr.
yep,
Uh, so Kathy tries to get a doctor for Linton. Heathcliff's like, "Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Like, just let him die." And I'm like, "What?"
right. Uh,
So then
it's
Linton dies because obviously no one's sending a doctor or caring about this child at all.
it's crazy.
Kathy, literally, like, just imagine being like, "Oh yeah, we know."
Yeah,
Like, what? So Kathy has not slept at all in the entire marriage, which is like a month at that point.
yep,
Um, and so after he dies, she is so ill from like lack of sleeping that she stays in her room for a full fortnight, which
Yeah.
fair.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Assuming just sleeping the whole time.
Yeah. Not grieving, taking a break.
Yeah. Yeah. She's basically been on 24-hour duty for a while.
Yes.
Um so Kathy's got nothing. Linton left his entire will to Heathcliff. So she's poor now, which
Yep.
I think we all knew that was going to happen, but
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. She has nothing to do, nowhere to go. She's stuck
Mhm.
there.
And now we're really starting to see the level of Harrington's crush,
Mm,
which is rough.
yeah. Poor guy.
Yeah. Also, poor Kathy, because now she's got to put up with another one, you know?
Yeah. Well, she's, again, the only person anywhere
The
near
entire
them.
town.
So they,
Literally.
they just have no choice but to go after each other.
Mm-hmm. So Kathy's trying to read a book, and Harrington's just like bold faced staring at her. And then after a while, touches her hair and she freaks out. She's like, literally, get the fuck away from me. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
It's like, come on. You can't just be going up and touching people's hair.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
Yeah. And then Ellen's like, well, that's the last I know. Um, and then we get brought back to present day, and Mr. Lockwood's like, I'm gonna go to New York for 6 months, and then I'm gonna tell Heathcliff I'm not renewing my lease. And I'm like, what?
Okay.
Yeah.
Who,
I was
wait,
like,
who
oh.
are you again? Mr. Lockwood?
Literally.
Like,
I had to search up the like name after the first time we went back to the present day because I was like, who are we? Who
yeah,
are
who?
you?
Wait.
But yeah, I'm like, I don't know what about that story made it a you problem, but whatever.
Right. You asked for all of this, man.
Literally. And then he's like, I can't stay here. And I'm like, why though?
Yeah. Just stop going over there uninvited. You can just
Yeah,
live your life in your fancy manor house. It's okay.
literally. Like he's already got the hots for Catherine, and it seems like, Catherine's not happy with her situation, so A plus
Yeah.
B.
Yeah. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. But that is all we are covering today. Where can the people of the internet find you and your podcast?
You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. We are in Her Good Books, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at In Her Good Books Podcast.
And we'll catch you all right here in 2 weeks with another round of chapters. Bye, everybody.
Bye.